when the evening settles and the day grows still, stories rise softly from memory's hill. These are the letters we carry inside, stories of love, loss, and pride. Welcome, my friend, to Porchlight Letters.
Hey, kia ora, Helen Bramps here, coming to you live from Waikanae Beach in New Zealand. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2419. And our question today is, what questions get the best stories? But first of all, for those of us in New Zealand, Australia, and going west around the world, happy St. Patrick's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day here in New Zealand. I know it's going to be that in the States tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow because we're going to have a very different introduction tomorrow. So stay tuned for that one. But anyway, so today we are talking about what questions get the best stories. The best stories really come from simple yes or no questions. They need to be open-ended. They need to spark. They need to spark memories and things like that. Ask about everyday routines. We've been talking about this all week. Questions about daily life often unlock vivid memories. Asking what normal school day looks like or how Sunday dinners worked helps people recall details. Routine often holds the richest storytellings. But not only that, focus on feelings and experiences. Memories are closely tied to emotion. Asking how someone felt when they moved to a new place or started a new job often leads to meaningful reflection. Emotion helps transform facts into stories. Use sensory prompts. Questions about sight, sounds, smells, or places stimulate the memory. Asking what the kitchen smelled like during holidays or what music played in the house that can spark vivid recollection. Sensory questions often unlock forgotten details. Ask about turning points, moments of change such as moving house, starting work, or meeting a spouse often hold strong memories. Even ask them about their wedding day or the day they became a mum or a dad. Ask them about those questions too. How did you feel when dad was born? How did you feel when mum was born? How did you feel about this, about that? And when they had this, and when if your parents had siblings, how did they feel when new siblings were brought into the house? These events often shape personal identity and family direction. Asking about turning points reveals the structure of a life story. Encourage reflection and meaning. Stories deepen when people reflect on what events meant to them. Questions such as what did that experience teach you, or how did it come to change your life, invite thoughtful responses. Reflection often leads to the most memorable stories. But not just that, as you're asking all of these questions and everything else, and as they tell stories, it's going to spark deeper stories coming out. They're going to turn into what we call the storytelling conversations, which is why all of this is so important. Thoughtful questions turn interviews into storytelling conversations. That's what you want to get people to. Just start asking about normal daily routine stuff and ask questions that lead on from that. Maybe ask them to share the earliest memory of school. What was the earliest memory of school? They might sit there and go, oh, I don't know. Okay, well, what schools did you go to? What was it like? Describe the school to me. How did you feel on your first day there? Just start asking questions. Don't barrage them with, just ask them, what do you remember about that day? What do you remember about the day you started school? I started at 9 different schools. What do I remember about each one? Each one has different memories. Each one has different memories. Yes, I remember being told to stand outside in the corridor while the person escorting me to my classroom went inside and got the teacher and brought them out, introduced me to the teacher. Then the teacher took me in and introduced me to everybody. And there's just a sea of faces. That's all I remember, is seas of faces. Every new school, it was the same. You go in the classroom and just a sea of faces there. And they tell you where to go and sit. And you go and sit next to some person, and maybe you'll become friends with them and maybe you won't. It just depended. But, my first year in high school, there was a lot of people that came across from intermediate, and intermediate in New Zealand is middle school or junior high. So a lot of people came across to high school with me with intermediate. So we just all stood around, milling around. We were told to mill around. And then they called out our names for the different, because it was called forms back then. Our form was split up into 6 different ones because they had enough kids for each form room. And we were assigned a home teacher and a home class and that sort of thing for home. At the beginning of the day, we'd go to our homeroom. And then from our homeroom, we would then go off to whatever class we needed to for whatever lessons we were going to. It was a little daunting that day because we had to find our way around this high school. It was this one big building and had little outbuildings and stuff. And we were not given maps. If they'd given us maps, it might have been a little different, but we were not given maps. We were just told, this is where you need to go. This is where you need to go. But we could ask people, where do you go? So ask thoughtful questions that turn interviews into story conversations. Your practical takeaways: ask open questions that invites memories rather than simple yes or no answers. Did you like school? No. Why? No, just start off, how did you feel the first day of school? What was it like? I remember when I was 5, going to school one day, and I don't know why this happened, but I got to take my dad's fireman uniform to school with me. His gumboot, his boots, his jacket, his hat. I think I had the axe with me as well. But the axe was kept in the teacher's gear. That's all part of this thing. And I remember putting on the boots at playtime, and the jacket and the hat. And I'm 5 years old. I'm wearing an adult male's fireman uniform. So you can imagine, the boots came up to the tops of my thighs, and I could barely walk in the things. And I put the jacket on, and I was completely lost inside the jacket. I could barely get my hands out of the end, pull the sleeves up enough to get my hand, because it was a fireman's jacket. It was heavy duty. And I got the hat on my head. I think I ended up putting the hat on the head first, then putting the jacket on, because I couldn't do anything else after that. But there was this 5-year-old swimming in her dad's fireman's uniform. It was pretty cool. A crazy day. But encourage questions. Ask open-ended questions and invite memory rather than simple answers. If you want help preparing interview questions, send us a private message and let's set up a 30-minute discovery call to help get you on track to asking interview questions. And in closing, the right question can unlock an entire chapter of history. What is that question? I will tell you this. It is different for every person that you talk to. For one person, it might be talking about their school years. For another person, it could be talking about the day they got married. For another person, it could be talking about the day they became a dad or a husband, or they went off to fight in a war or whatever. But whatever question you ask them, it's going to be different for each person. That question is going to be different for every person. That unlocks everything. Even using stuff like photo albums, taking them through a photo album. Oh, where was this picture taken? Who's in this picture here? Like my brother and I were talking the other day, and we had a picture with about 30 people in it. It was Christmas 1957, well before I came along and my brother came along. But in there, my dad was like 13 at the time, and his youngest brother was 3, and there was his brother and sister in between. So that family was there, and my mum and my dad were there. And then there was all the relatives around, and they're standing around my great-grandmother and grandfather, who I actually did get to meet. They died long after I was born. But I did get to meet, they're the only great-grandparents I ever got to meet. So I was very fortunate and very blessed to be able to have that experience with them. But this picture there, and there's all these people in there, and we basically knew most of them. We just didn't recognize their faces because they were so young. But fortunately, I had in my Forever account, in the description for the photo, I had who was listed where on the thing, left to right, back row, middle row, front row. And so my brother and I were able to go down and look at that and go, well, I actually thought that person was that, because there's a woman in there that I thought was my auntie Margaret. No, it wasn't her. She was a couple of people along. And I looked at her and went, oh, okay, but that one looked more like Auntie Margaret than that one did. That sort of thing. And so it was kind of fun just sitting there with my brother on the phone, and we're both looking at the same picture and going through them, and I'm telling him who's who and what's where and everything else. So that was kind of fun. So with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konara.
The stories we carry stay bright through the night. A small steady glow in the fading light. Stories of love, loss and pride we share, until we meet